A new estimate for the amount of money that Zambia owes Chinese lenders is nearly double what the Zambian government had previously admitted. According to credit ratings firm S&P Global, Zambia spends at least 30% of its income on interest payments alone. Last year, Zambia missed an interest repayment, making it the first African country to default on a loan during the COVID-19 pandemic. The country is now under a new president, Hakainde Hichilema, who has said that he had inherited an empty treasury. Hichilema says that the debt situation had not been fully disclosed by the former government. This included what was owed to Chinese lenders. A new paper from the China-Africa Research Initiative, based at Johns Hopkins University in the United States, estimates that the sum now amounts to $6.6 billion US. A previous Zambian government figure had put it at around $3.4 billion US. Well, for more on this story, we're now joined by the Executive Director at the Center for Policy Dialogue in Zambia, Dr. Neo Simutanyi. Thank you so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Good evening, and thank you very much for having me.
Is it shocking to hear these revelations that the amount owed to Chinese lenders is pretty much double that which government had admitted before?
Yeah, it's not shocking because many of us thought that was the case. The previous government has not been very truthful with the Zambian people. And the whole idea of concealing the extent of the debt, I think, raises a lot of questions as to why go to great lengths to actually conceal the debt unless there was some wrongdoing that was involved. We've always known that the debt situation is worse than the government has admitted. And I think this was two factors. The first was that there was so much pressure by government to show that it is involved in a lot of infrastructure development as a way of wooing support. But also the other reason was that it was a conduit for siphoning funds to personal interests, to people's pockets. So much corruption was taking place in most of these Chinese-funded public contracts. So we think that was the reason why the government was reluctant. There is a law actually in Zambia which was passed in 2016, which requires government to seek parliamentary approval before any loan is contracted. But for very strange reasons, the previous government was reluctant to actually pass enabling legislation that would make Parliament actually pass that particular legislation. So that would compel government to take all loan applications or decisions to Parliament for prior approval before the loans were contracted. So this was why it was possible for the government to contract so much loan. You'll be surprised to know that in 2011, when the PF came to power, the external debt of Zambia was only $1.9 billion. And today it is in excess of $12 billion. That is the official statement. But from all these other sources, there is a figure of 14 billion from the IMF that they will disclose of 14 billion. And with this new 6.6 billion that was concealed, it would be anywhere close to 20 billion in terms of how much we owe. And that in itself, I think, creates a problem because with debt service, the failure to actually even service the interest on the Eurobond shows that the previous government was very irresponsible.
So, I mean, there's no free lunch in the world. So these Chinese lenders who have now got all this debt sitting in their books with Zambia's name on, what does that mean for Zambia? Because essentially the country has been mortgaged off.
Indeed, indeed. In fact, we understand that the reason why Zambia was unable to pay the $42.5 million that was owed to the Eurobond creditors was because of the Chinese loans. The Chinese were first on the queue to be paid. So government wanted to reschedule the payment so that they could pay the Chinese first. And that tells you that actually we are captive to the Chinese loans. And I hope that the new government will renegotiate the terms of those loans, because I think they were contracted on very bad terms for the Zambian government, for the Zambian people.
The relationship between China and Zambia has been one that's been a bone of contention for some time now, even going before this last president. What is the situation now, and how does President Hichilema renegotiate China's relationship with Zambia?
I think he can renegotiate. The Chinese are very open to negotiations. You know, they are secretive, and they have this non-interference in political affairs. So whichever government comes, I think they will be in a position to negotiate. They are not that rigid, but there are other commercial entities, you know, middlemen, people who have been contracting these loans on behalf of the government, the go-betweens, and I think these are the ones who have created all these problems. But I think it will be possible to negotiate with them, and I think it's possible to reschedule some of these loans, especially those from Chinese state institutions. Those from private Chinese companies, Chinese banks, those may be difficult. But I think the new government has a lot of goodwill, and I would like to believe that it will be possible to negotiate some of these the loans. The very fact that they were concealed means that it was also on the side of the Chinese, that it was in their interest that these loans were not known, because if they were really doing it on a commercial basis, if they wanted it to be, their loans to be paid, I think they would have wanted some transparency around the terms of those loans. So the fact that they also were not interested in the Zambian government disclosing these loans and the terms that they were contracted on means that on both sides, I think there was some understanding that revealing the terms of these loans and how much they were may actually provoke anger in the Zambian population.
It's no secret that China has been getting land in various parts of the continent. And I just wonder, when you have so much debt, are we sure that no assets have been traded in to get rid of some of those debts?
We don't know. It's just speculation. There are suggestions that some of our state assets may have been mortgaged, or they may have been used as collateral. I think the new government has to investigate that. This has been reported in the international media that some of our prized parastatals may actually be used as collateral. But I cannot confirm that. But that information, that rumor is there. And I think it will be important to find out whether those rumors are true. Because if they are true, then we are in big trouble. Because then, you know, when we default, we will lose some of our assets, you know, especially the electricity assets.
Do you feel that former President Lungu really needs to be brought to account over the situation that Zambia is in now?
I think it's we are now seeing a trend that former presidents, if they mismanaged things, if there's a perception that they were involved in corruption, they have actually been prosecuted. You know, Chiluba was prosecuted, so was Rupiah Banda. So I don't think that former President Edgar Lungu will be an exception. I think there is so much demand from the population that he accounts for the wealth he has acquired in the 7 years he was in office. But I think it's not easy to do that. He has immunity that, the Constitution provides him immunity. They should be investigated and have a case against him that they can prove before that immunity can be removed. And also, the new government does not have a two-thirds majority in parliament. So it will be difficult for them to get the approval of parliament because they don't have the numbers. Should they bring the case of removing the immunity to parliament to now, they won't win it. So they may take their time and ensure that they have enough evidence, and also they will ride on the public demands. So if public demands that former president be prosecuted will be high, I think it will compel parliament to actually agree to removing his immunity. But for now, the investigations are still ongoing. There are all the demands, but until there is sufficient evidence, I think President Lungu and the former ministers may not easily be prosecuted. We have to wait and see. We've also there is also the issue of the capacity of the investigative wings, which are still headed by the same people who were, there when President Lungu was in office. They are still in place. So one wonders whether they will be able to effectively, investigate their former masters. So people are asking questions as to why there's a delay in replacing these people, so that the new set of leaders who are more independent to look at what happened in the last 10 years of the PF rule.
And in the meantime, what is life like for the average Zambian? Because COVID-19 was a disruption for everyone, including Zambia. But then on top of that, you've got a country that is drowning in debt. And that often means social spending is cut.
Yes, life is difficult, and I think the results of the elections were a testament to the fact that people wanted a new set of leaders to sort out the economic hardships. The cost of living is high, poverty is high. Many families cannot afford school fees for their children. There is corruption and so forth. So yes, and the fact that our debt situation is so high means that debt service, most of the money goes to debt service and paying public sector wages. So what remains is very little. So there's an expectation that the new government will address the main problem that the economy actually has, and that is to try to address the issue of debt and renegotiate the terms of this debt, so that there's some breathing space that will allow government to channel resources towards the social sectors. But these are the areas which have really suffered in the last 10 years or so. So we hope, of course, there is goodwill, and the government is still enjoying, a honeymoon period. But it won't take long. You see, people want employment, jobs. Young people want jobs. People want the cost of living to go down. So something should be done sooner rather than later, and we hope that these issues will be addressed. Yes, things are bad, but people are expectant and hopeful that the new government will actually find a solution.
Dr. Simutanyi, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very, very much indeed. Zikomo Kombili, thank you. And for your insights, always greatly appreciated. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Dr. Simutanyi speaking to us about the precarious situation that Zambia finds itself in. The new president saying that the former administration was economical with the truth in terms of disclosing the country's debt position, and that the debts owed to Chinese lenders is double what was revealed before.